Why are there so many? If Canada has one definition of accessibility and what a disability is and what barriers are, why do the provinces and the territories differ?
While Canada has overarching definitions and standards, provinces and territories may adapt these to address local needs, legal frameworks, and resources. This allows for regional flexibility in implementing accessibility in a way that best serves their communities. Exactly, and that inconsistency can hinder both tourism and immigration. It underscores the need for cohesive national accessibility standards that are uniformly applied across all provinces and territories.
Okay, so now let's take it down to a really specific subject because I'm having trouble with this one. Okay, transit.
All right.
Transit is a municipality or a city issue, like it's an individual city issue. Would that be a good definition of it?
Yep, public transit is typically managed at the municipal level, so each city or town is responsible for its own transit system. That includes setting accessibility standards for their services.
So, how does what you've said about accessibility standards and trying to be equal and all the rest of that stuff apply when you have so many different transits?
It highlights a core issue. Without consistent national standards, accessibility in transit varies widely. Each city's approach can differ in terms of investment, design, and commitment to accessibility, leading to significant disparities across the country.
Is then transit, city transit, municipal transit, an issue or an inequity that could cause a legal issue?
It could, especially if it leads to discrimination against people with disabilities. If a transit system fails to provide adequate accessibility, it could be challenged legally under human rights laws.
And is that across Canada?
Yes, human rights laws protecting against discrimination often apply across Canada, both federally and within each province and territory. This means transit systems nationwide must consider accessibility to comply with these laws.
Okay. There are several different types within Ontario. One of them that I particularly like, I believe it's in Peel, I could be wrong, but they have sort of like an all-over type of system. So they have buses and streetcars, but they also involve taxis and smaller van-type services in order to get people from place to place to hook up, say, for example, for people who have accessibility needs, to get them further than what just the buses travel. I like that idea in so many more ways than I do like trying to come up with the bus route that services the most people the most time.
Yeah, that multimodal approach with various transport options seems way more flexible and user-friendly, especially for those with accessibility needs. It's all about creating a cohesive system that adapts to diverse needs, rather than a one-size-fits-all route.
Agreed. Agreed very, very much.
It just makes sense, right?
I think so, yes. Okay, now I have another question for you, though. And I'm interrupting you a lot, I know, but
Not at all, Leona. I'm here for your questions. Fire away.
All right. How do you start to approach explaining the difference between accessibility as it applies to able-bodied persons and accessibility as it applies to disabled persons?
Start by highlighting that accessibility for able-bodied persons often means convenience or user-friendliness, like ramps or elevators. For persons with disabilities, it's a necessity that enables basic access and inclusion, crucial for their independence and participation in society.
Do people understand, do you think, that that kind of participation, that sort of like being, say, for example, being able to go shopping regularly without having to sort of plan it 2 weeks ahead of time, or being able to use outdoor facilities like go hiking, go boating, go all of these things, are things that people with disabilities and all different sorts of disabilities actually do? Or do they look upon people with disabilities as basically somebody who's in a wheelchair or somebody who can't see?
I think there's growing awareness, but many still don't fully grasp the everyday challenges people with disabilities face. Some may limit their understanding to visible disabilities like wheelchair use, overlooking the broader spectrum. There's a need for better education on the diverse capabilities and interests of people with disabilities. What are these documents about?
They are memos of understanding.
Got it. Focusing on key sections like purpose, responsibilities, and any changes in terms is crucial. Check for updates in language around agreements, obligations, or deliverables. Are there specific parts you'd like to delve into?
Yes, but what I would like to do is I would like for you to have a go at them and see what the differences are. And what I'd like to know is, what do I have to give you in order for you to do that?
You'd need to provide both documents so I can compare them for changes. However, I'm unable to access or analyze files directly. Perhaps you could summarize the key points from each document for us to discuss.
I could do that. Hi, everybody. This is kind of a behind the scenes video, and it's a behind the scenes video because I've been reading like a mad thing and going backwards and forwards with what information I could find, what I should use, what I shouldn't use, what answers questions, what doesn't, and learning more and more. And I found out some very interesting things as well, dating back to 2021. So over the last couple of weeks, in a follow-up to the video that I did on the arena and the problems that we've been having here, I decided to take a closer look at the Elliott Lake Cross Country Ski and Bike Club. There were some comments about the negative light that I put them in. I didn't think I did. I think I put the idea of trying to include an accessible trail, and for this I mean accessible for people with disabilities, and a hiking trail, biking trail, ATV trails, cross-country ski trail, sort of multi-use trail that involves able-bodied people, that this starts to get a little bit, it gets confused, because accessibility for able-bodied people is different than accessibility for people with disabilities. And you're not just talking about people who have mobility issues, you are talking about people who have low vision or are totally blind, people who are deaf, people who have cognitive disabilities. It goes on and on and on. And so it's learning about all of these kinds of things and what can be used. Color blindness is a disability. When you cannot see color, and so all colors look the same to you, and things start to look glary, and so it's something that can really affect how you interact with the world around you. So I thought that a little bit of a discussion of what accessibility means was in order, and so I started doing all of this research, and it got to be a lot because a lot of stuff came to light. And one of the more interesting things that I was looking for, and it actually led me backwards, because in looking at the Elliott Lake Cross Country Skiing Bike Club, I needed to figure out where all of this had started. And as you go backwards in looking at what came to council when, it led me all the way back to May of last year, where you start to see things that come into it saying, from an idea in 2021, from an idea in 2021, from an idea in 2021, being discussed at the Accessibility Advisory Committee. Nobody really presenting anything. It was just a discussion topic. And it intrigued me, and I went backwards, and when I had done my report and presentation to the Accessibility Advisory Committee about my multi-use park and trail, that was done in 2020. So 2021 was just kind of like, wait a minute, why? What happened in 2021? But when I looked, I got the okay from council in 2021, and it really did freak me out. But that's something to be looked at. But then after all of that and still looking at things, and I was still researching on down the line, and then having the transit report, the final come back in, and that's going up on tomorrow to be discussed. And then so looking at all that, and it's a lot of reading to do, and it's a lot of taking the words and the pictures and putting them together in order to understand what's going on, because they show things like taking out stops, reroutes in certain places, that kind of thing. And so you kind of got to match up all the pictures with what's going on and where you are. Like, I know the city, and I even know my own little portion of it where I live in the new sub, but it's when you're sitting there and you're looking at it, you're going like, okay, how did we leave off and where are we going from here? It gets a bit weird. So you get long and involved into it, and it's going to take me a while to get through it all. And also finding out that I was selected with a group of other people to be in the Accessibility Advisory Committee's working group. So all of that coming together and, getting sort of settled into everything that's going to happen, how it's going to work, and I'll be able to participate online, which is good. And so, that was all terrific. Not to mention, it's cold. Holy Toledo. And I am blaming it on Krista from Almost Off-Grid Grandma. It's okay, really and truly, it's not her fault. Honest, Krista, I know it's not your fault, but it was your video that I was watching telling me that it was going to get really cold, and it got really cold, and I don't like it. So, in order to make me feel better, I'm saying it's because of you, even though it's not. but this cold has slowed me down because it's made these move a lot slower and get stiff very, very quickly, and my legs and my back and things like that. So it's taken me a while, but we're going through it. Okay. But that's what I wanted to let you know about, was that I was doing all of this stuff and reading and let you see a little bit of how I do this kind of thing. I go over and over and over stuff, and I research things, and I will talk to people that I can get a hold of online, because until the melt of the snow, I won't be outside a good deal, mostly because I can't get out. And so we'll see how things go for that. But I am looking at stuff, and I am trying to get things done. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing with all this, and I will continue to do it. And that there will be more than likely 2 videos, if not more, because transit's going to take some. But those will be coming up. Accessibility is really important to me. Disabled rights are really important to me. Making sure that people are being treated with respect is important to me. And that's like all people. That's not just people with disabilities, but people with disabilities are where my passion lies. I work to get the information that I do. As you can tell from here, 2020, I was writing a report about how to create a multi-use park on the city's property. I don't take what I do lightly, and I don't shirk any responsibility for looking stuff up. I care a great deal. So you'll be seeing some of the results of all of this reading and putting together and developing a video coming up rather shortly. But I thought you would enjoy a look behind the scenes at what I actually do. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining. If you're enjoying the content, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you again in the next one.